My mother invented the star child system. Only the sibling with the highest grades got hot meals, a private room, and a goodnight hug. The rest of us got nothing. When I refused to sabotage my siblings as she wanted, she banished me to sleep on a mattress in the backyard and eat standing at the kitchen counter. As kids, the only thing our parents rewarded was outscoring each other. I remember being 6, coming home with a B, but my brother had an A. That night, he ate takeout, watched cartoons late, and went shopping for a new toy. I got his cold leftovers and slept without a blanket in the middle of January. Mom called it the star child system. Every time report cards came, she lined us 4 up in the living room, checking our grades one by one. The one with the best average that semester became the star child. They got everything: hot food, a cozy private room, bedtime hugs, and weekend trips to the mall. The rest of us got zilch. At first, we all tried harder. I stayed up late studying by flashlight under my blanket. James read during recess, and Sarah pored over math problems at lunch. But things shifted when we hit middle school. Lily, the youngest, started slipping sleeping pills into James's juice before big tests. Sarah deleted my essays from the computer, claiming it was a glitch. James hid my textbooks. Mom loved it. When she found the homework Sarah stole from me, she just grinned. "Smart girl," she'd say. "That's life." I, the eldest, was the most naive. I didn't want to play her game. When I caught Lily crying over failing science, I helped her study for the makeup test. If James's calculator broke before an algebra exam, I lent him mine. I thought being kind would stop us from sabotaging each other. But one night, Mom caught me helping Lily with biology. She grabbed my hair so hard I thought she'd rip it out, dragged me to my room, and slammed me against the wall. "You're making her weak," she hissed, her breath reeking of wine. From then on, my mattress was moved to the backyard. Losers didn't deserve comfort. She took my door off its hinges. Privacy was for winners only. I ate standing at the counter while my siblings sat at the table. The worst was their faces. They felt guilty, but no one spoke up. We were all terrified of Mom. That night, I took my own revenge. I kept my grades at a steady C in high school, just enough to pass, but low enough to show her she couldn't break me. My siblings, though, had sky-high grades, even scholarships, but also ulcers, panic attacks, and piles of secret prescription meds they traded. Sarah ended up in the hospital in 11th grade for overdosing on focus pills. Everything exploded the night before my graduation. Mom changed the locks while I was at work. When I got home, my stuff was dumped on the lawn, even my baby photos, torn to pieces. She stood at the door, hugging my siblings. "Don't come back till you're worth something," she said. I saw Lily open her mouth to speak, but Mom's glare silenced her. No one helped as I loaded my things into the car under the rain. The next day, at graduation, 4 empty seats in the front row. College felt alien at first. My roommate David's parents visited at Christmas, and seeing me alone, they brought me a pie. His mom hugged me, and I was so startled I knocked over a lamp. My psych professor praised my essay, but I had a panic attack in the bathroom, expecting a scolding. I slept on the floor for a month because the bed felt too soft, like I didn't deserve it. Mid-semester, I called home to check on my siblings. What they told me hurt, but didn't surprise me. James said they now recorded conversations to catch mistakes. Lily hid cameras in Sarah's room to snitch to Mom if she cheated or slacked off. Sarah stole James's meds. The competition got worse without me. There always had to be a loser for others to win. It broke my heart, and I started planning to get them out. Before I could, Lily called last week, her voice shaking, whispering like Mom could hear through walls. "I can't take it anymore," she said. "Please, save us. I'm sorry for everything." Then a loud crash and Mom screams. I tried, shouting, but the call cut off. It was 2 a.m., but I sped off, driving 4 hours to the house. I found Lily locked in the basement, turned into a windowless study room with a padlock outside. She weighed barely 40 kilos, showing me arms covered in infected scratches from anxiety. She'd burned her test to avoid Mom's achievement board, but got caught. Mom didn't let her use the bathroom for 3 days. There were buckets in the corner. Mom stormed down yelling I was ruining her champion. I carried Lily to the car as Mom chased us, screaming we were failures who deserved each other. On the drive, Lily was half-conscious in the passenger seat, eyes glued to the side mirror like she expected Mom's car to follow. She passed out completely. She was breathing, but barely. The hospital was an hour away, and I floored it. Nurses rushed her in. I filled out forms with trembling hands, listing myself as her emergency contact. The receptionist asked about insurance, and I handed over my student ID, praying the university plan would cover it. 3 hours later, a doctor came out. Lily was malnourished, dehydrated, and her wounds were infected. They started antibiotics and kept her for observation. I nodded to everything, though I was panicking about the cost. Lily woke up around noon. The next day, looking tiny in the hospital bed, hooked to an IV. Seeing me there, her eyes filled with tears and she cried silently. I took her hand, squeezing gently. She squeezed back, and we sat like that, quiet for a long time. Finally, she told me Mom got worse after I left, the competition fiercer, locking her in the basement for 2 weeks, letting her out only an hour a day to shower and change. A nurse brought broth and crackers. Lily ate slowly, wincing with each swallow. I helped her adjust pillows for comfort. When she finished, she gave me a hollow look. I knew what she wanted, though she didn't say it. We can go back for James and Sarah. They're probably suffering too. Part of me wanted to refuse. They saw Mom throw my stuff out, always played her sabotage game. But I remembered they were victims too, just trying to survive. That afternoon, I called James from the hospital lobby. He answered after 3 rings, voice low. I told him Lily was okay and asked if he wanted out. He went silent, then hung up. I tried again, no answer. I called Sarah, and she picked up instantly, like she'd been waiting. She spoke fast. Mom knew I took Lily, was furious, changed locks, installed cameras, and burned Lily's stuff in the yard. When I asked if she wanted to leave, she paused, whispered she couldn't talk, and hung up. I sat in the lobby, feeling helpless. How do you help someone who won't or can't let you? Lily was discharged 4 days later. The bill was insane, but the hospital let us pay in installments. We went to my apartment near campus, stopping at a thrift store for clothes and basics for Lily. David was on winter break, so she used his bed. Those first days were rough. Lily jumped at every sound, woke screaming from nightmares, apologizing for random things. I made simple meals, didn't push her to talk. Slowly, she relaxed. One day she laughed when I burned noodle soup, distracted by homework. A week later, my phone rang at 3 a.m. It was James, voice trembling. Mom found his anxiety meds and flushed them. He was in withdrawal, lost. I told him to pack a bag and wait at the gas station 2 blocks from home. I left Lily sleeping and drove all night. James was there, hunched, clutching a backpack, face pale, sweating, eyes sunken. He got in without a word. The drive back was silent, broken by his soft groans. I stopped at a 24-hour pharmacy, explained to the pharmacist. They couldn't give anything without a prescription, but pointed us to an urgent care opening at 7. We waited till they opened. The doctor was kind, prescribed withdrawal meds, and referred us to a psychiatrist. James took the pills right there. Back. At the apartment, Lily was up, making coffee. She froze seeing James, then ran to hug him. They both cried. I left them alone, took a shower, letting hot water wash away exhaustion. Over the next days, we built a routine. I went to classes, they stayed home. Lily learned cooking from YouTube. James, needing control, organized my bookshelf and cleaned, constantly. At night, we ate together at the small kitchen table. No one stood in corners or sat on the floor. Then Sarah called. Mom kicked her out for trying to call me, hitting her face with a book, leaving a black eye. She was crashing with a friend but couldn't stay long. I gave her my address, told her to take a bus. She arrived the next night with a suitcase and a bruised eye. We didn't talk about it, just put ice on it and made a bed on the couch. That night, for the first time in years, all 4 of us were together without Mom. But I knew it wasn't over. Mom left voicemails calling us ungrateful failures. She showed up at my university, got escorted out by security. She reported me to the police, claiming I kidnapped Lily. Cops came to check. Lily told them she was 18 and left willingly. They left, but I knew Mom would try something else. She always had another trick. My siblings struggled too. After years of competing, teamwork felt foreign. Sarah hid food in her suitcase. James timed everyone's showers. Lily apologized for taking up space. Old habits died hard. We needed real help. I booked sessions at the campus counseling center, pay what you can, and contacted legal aid about a restraining order. The lawyer said we had a strong case with documented abuse. But even as I tried building a new life, Mom's shadow loomed. She knew where I studied, was great at digging up info, and never accepted defeat. The star child system was her life's work. We were her trophies, proof her method worked. I changed my routes to class, glancing back for followers. I added new locks and a deadbolt to the apartment. I told my siblings the plan if Mom showed up. We lived on edge, but at least we were here. One morning, I found a note slipped under the door. Mom's handwriting. You can't hide forever. A real family stays together. Come home before it's too late. My hands shook, reading it. She'd stood right outside while we slept. At breakfast, I showed the note to my siblings. Lily went pale. James fidgeted nervously, but Sarah surprised me. She tore the note to bits. She can't control us anymore, she said, voice steady, the first time anyone stood up to Mom. That afternoon, we went to the counseling center. The therapist was blunt. What we'd been through was psychological abuse. Mom used competition to control us. She warned healing would take time and work. Back home after the session, something in us shifted. We didn't walk in a line, but side by side, not caring who was ahead. For the first time, we felt like real siblings, not rivals. But I knew this was just the start. Mom was out there, surely planning her next move, while we were only beginning to trust each other after years of manipulation. The road wouldn't be easy, but we'd walk it together. That night, doing homework and watching TV, I realized Mom might have stolen our childhood, but we had a chance to build a real future where love didn't depend on grades and family wasn't a contest. The next day, bad news hit. James found out Mom canceled his health insurance. Without it, he couldn't see a psychiatrist affordably. He paced, pulling his hair. I called the campus health center, but they could only see him in 2 weeks. And his meds wouldn't last. Lily suggested trying pharmacies for help. We spent the day going from one to another, telling our story. People pitied us, but without a prescription, they couldn't do anything. James's anxiety worsened, withdrawal symptoms kicking in. But Sarah saved us, finding an online telemedicine service that prescribed via video call. The consultation cost $89, so I'd skip groceries, but James needed it urgently. We huddled around the laptop as he spoke to the doctor, who prescribed enough for a week until his appointment. James sighed in relief after taking his pill, but it was short-lived. Mom called my university, saying I was unstable and holding my siblings hostage. The dean of students left a message for an urgent meeting. I listened to it so many times my stomach knotted. I went alone, bringing Lily's hospital records. The dean listened but warned any school trouble would have consequences. I left feeling like I was walking on glass. Back home, my siblings were on the couch with a package. It was a photo album from our childhood, when we seemed like a normal family before the Star Child game. Inside, a note from Mom. Remember when we were a real family? It's not too late to come back. Lily broke down. James stared at a beach photo where we were all smiling for real. Sarah fixated on a picture of Mom pushing her on a swing. I wanted to toss the album but couldn't. They were our only childhood photos. Mom's manipulation didn't stop. She texted each of us separately, hitting our weak spots. To James, she promised meds if he returned. To Sarah, money for grad school. To Lily, a remodeled basement room. I saw them waver, longing for a mom, who never existed. Years of manipulation didn't vanish easily. Sarah caved first. I came home from work to find her packing, avoiding my eyes, saying Mom would cover law school applications just for a week's visit. I reminded her of the bruise fading on her face, but Sarah was ambitious, and Mom knew how to tempt her. I drove her to the bus station. In the waiting area, she hugged me quickly, whispering an apology. Mom left notes under the door like a twisted tooth fairy, stealing peace instead of leaving gifts. I watched her bored, knowing it was a mistake, but I couldn't force her to stay. That would make me like Mom. The apartment felt emptier. Without Sarah, Lily and James were quiet, probably wondering if they should go back. I kept them busy, cooking, playing games, walking, anything to avoid thinking about Sarah. 3 days passed with no word from her. Her phone went to voicemail. Mom posted photos of Sarah studying at the table, looking perfect, but I knew it was a facade. Everything in that house was. On the 4th day during dinner, James's phone rang. It was Sarah, voice odd, like reading a script. She said living, with me was a mistake, that I held them back, that Mom only wanted their best. James put it on speaker, and we heard Mom whispering instructions. When Sarah hung up, we sat in shocked silence. Mom had broken her in 4 days, or maybe Sarah was just acting to survive. Either way, we'd lost her for now. Lily squeezed my hand under the table, and I squeezed back, trying to comfort her. We couldn't save someone who didn't want saving. Mom's campaign turned more aggressive. She showed up at my university at random times, her car in the lot after class or her sitting in the student center when I grabbed coffee, always lurking, never approaching, just reminding me she could reach me any time. Campus security couldn't do much. She wasn't directly harassing and had a right to public spaces. I changed routes, ducked into other buildings when I saw her, feeling like hunted prey. Stress tanked my grades. One afternoon, I came home to find the apartment door ajar. My heart sank as I pushed it open. Someone had ransacked the place, no theft, but chaos, drawers open, papers scattered, beds messed up. The message was clear. Mom could get anywhere. Luckily, Lily and James were at the library. I called them, told them to stay put, and reported it to campus police. The officer took notes but seemed skeptical. No break-in signs, nothing stolen. They couldn't do much. I felt walls closing in. That night, we pushed the couch against the door and took turns keeping watch. No one slept well. Next morning, another note under the door. Stop being foolish. You're hurting your siblings. A good daughter would bring them home. My savings were dwindling. Food, James's meds, and safety costs outstripped a student's budget. I took extra shifts at the campus bookstore, but it wasn't enough. Lily wanted a job, but Mom had destroyed her documents. Financial strain was Mom's plan. She knew I couldn't support 3 on my own. She wanted us desperate enough to crawl back. I skipped meals so they could eat. They noticed, but said nothing. 2 weeks after Sarah left, she called again, frantic. Mom was at her weekly wine club, leaving her alone. She said Mom locked her in her room at night, forced her to study for the LSAT 16 hours a day, took her phone, and only let her use it for supervised calls. Before we could respond, a door slammed, and Sarah hung up with a gasp. We tried calling. Back, no answer. I wanted to rush to her, but Lily warned it could be a trap, Mom using Sarah to lure us. We debated for hours. James suggested calling the police, but what could we say? A 20-year-old studying too hard? Lily proposed sneaking her out during wine club, but we didn't know the exact time. I was paralyzed by indecision. The next day, everything changed. Mom ditched psychological warfare for something nastier. She called my job, accusing me of stealing from the register. She told David's parents I was dealing drugs in the apartment. I spent the day putting out fires. My manager checked cameras, confirmed I was clean. Professors were concerned but supportive. David's parents were harder to convince. The stress was unbearable. Mom was hell-bent on destroying what I'd built. Lily and James watched me handle calls and emails, face grim. They finally got that Mom wouldn't stop, would escalate until we returned or had nothing left. For her, there was no middle ground. That night, I made a choice. We couldn't just defend anymore. We had to strike, but not how Mom expected. Instead of fighting, we'd vanish completely. I searched for far-off cities where Mom had no connections or way to find us, even if it meant dropping out and leaving everything. Lily agreed instantly. She had nothing to lose. James was tougher to convince because of his meds, but when Mom sent a photo of his old room with a note, "I'm waiting," he didn't hesitate. We knew we couldn't leave Sarah. I spent the next week quietly planning. I withdrew my last savings in cash. We packed light. I told work I had a family emergency. Professors understood when I asked for a leave. We planned Sarah's rescue. Lily had an idea. She still had the password to an old email Sarah probably forgot. We left messages, in drafts unsent so Mom wouldn't see. The first draft was clear. "We're all leaving. Be ready." We checked the email obsessively for a reply. 2 days later, Sarah responded, "Mom watches everything. Wine club Thursday, 7 to 10 p.m. Back door lock's broken." We had a 3-hour window when Mom was gone, but it meant returning to the house we'd fled, like walking into a lion's den. Every instinct screamed it was crazy, but I couldn't abandon Sarah. I rented a car under a friend's name, paid cash. We drove all night, reaching our town at dawn. We parked blocks away and waited. The neighborhood looked the same, normal. Houses, normal people, no one suspecting what happened in that perfect-looking home. Thursday afternoon dragged on. From the car, we saw Mom leave for her club, dressed impeccably. We waited 15 minutes to ensure she didn't return, then moved fast. The back door was indeed broken, as Sarah said. We slipped in silently. The house smelled of lemon cleaner mixed with fear, pulling me back to childhood. Sarah was in her room, bags packed. She looked thinner, eyes shadowed, but ready. We were almost out when we heard the front door open, Mom's cheerful voice saying she forgot her wine. We froze, unable to reach the car without being seen, trapped again in that house of pain. I pushed my siblings into the pantry, closing the door softly. We held our breath as Mom's heels clicked in the kitchen. She hummed the tune she used when deciding our punishments. My heart pounded so loud I thought she'd hear. The sound of a wine bottle leaving the fridge echoed, then her steps paused right outside the pantry. We pressed against the walls, trying to disappear. After an eternity, she walked away. The front door closed. We waited 5 more minutes before daring to move, legs shaking. We ran to the car and sped off. No one spoke for the first hour. We were processing how close we'd come to getting caught, wondering what Mom would have done. Sarah broke the silence, thanking us for coming back, her voice cracking as she described the last 2 weeks. Mom had been retraining her, making her recite family rules every morning, punishing her for wanting rest. Studying was a pretext. Mom's real goal was to crush Sarah's spirit, molding her into a perfect daughter who'd never leave. We drove all night, taking turns at the wheel. By dawn, we were 5 states away. I picked a mid-sized, affordable city with opportunities. We crashed in a cheap motel, collapsing on the beds, exhausted but free. The next weeks were about survival. I got a job at a diner, fudging my experience. Lily worked at a daycare that didn't check references. James got hired at a bookstore and Sarah tutored online. We pooled money for a small apartment. It wasn't easy. James panicked in crowds. Lily flinched at raised voices. Sarah checked locks obsessively. I jumped at every phone ring. But we started healing. We found a great therapist who charged what we could afford. In group sessions, we learned to communicate without fighting, to support and love unconditionally. It was like learning a new language. But Mom didn't let go easily. She hired a private investigator who showed up at James's bookstore. We'd planned for this. We said we were cousins, our parents died in a crash, and we moved to start over. The investigator left empty-handed. Mom's calls and texts kept coming, angry, then guilty, then sweet, then threatening, promising change. We changed numbers, but she'd find them, so we changed again. It became routine, like taking out the trash. After 6 months, her messages slowed, her efforts weaker, like she realized we weren't coming back, or maybe she'd found a new victim. We didn't know and didn't want to think about it. We celebrated holidays as a real family. No achievement boards, no competition. We cooked together, decorated wonky cookies, laughed till we cried. Gifts weren't tied to grades. Lily enrolled in community college, wanting to be a social worker to help kids like us. James found a better psychiatrist who nailed his treatment, controlling his anxiety. Sarah ditched law school dreams, writing stories to process what she'd been through. I went back to school part-time, not to impress anyone, just for me. Mom tried to make us compete, wanting lone champions craving her approval, but instead she made us stronger. We learned to protect each other, choosing love over rivalry. The apartment was small, money tight, scars on skin and heart still there. But we built something Mom could never grasp or destroy. A real family, bound not by blood or duty or achievements, but by choice and true love. At night, as my siblings slept, I stood by the window, watching city lights. Somewhere, Mom sat alone, in her big house surrounded by achievement boards and an empty Star Child throne. Would she see what she lost? Feel regret? Or was she already hunting new victims, perfecting her system? I pushed those thoughts away. Mom was our past. We'd made it through, turning the worst of our childhood, that competition meant to mark us forever, into the foundation for our strongest bond. We weren't siblings fighting anymore, but a team facing life together. The Star Child system was gone. Now we had something far more valuable, a family where everyone mattered, where love wasn't earned with grades but given freely, where support beat betrayal and cooperation topped competition. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, wounds still, needed healing, dreams needed chasing, lives needed building, but we'd face it together. 4 siblings who learned the real victory was lifting each other up. Mom wanted winners and losers. Instead, she created an unbreakable team. I smiled and stepped from the window. Lily slept soundly, healthy at last. James read, anxiety in check. Sarah wrote our journey in her journal, turning it into art. In that tiny apartment, there was more love than in the big house we grew up in. It felt like home, not because of space, but because we were together. In the end, the Star Children broke free from their cage and learned to soar, and that was the most precious thing of all.